Top three at each position. Jamey, who are our top three quarterbacks? We haven't talked about this crappy position. Top three quarterbacks this week.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett, actually, very good option based on what we've seen from him in 5 games without Kyler Murray. Last week was probably the most surprising one, just simply because we didn't have high expectations after Marvin Harrison was ruled out, but he performed historical based on how many completions he was able to accrue. But he's the easy choice there. After him, it's just a mixed bag. So I have Jameis Winston second and Bryce Young third. We'll keep an eye on Young with the ankle injury. Jameis looks like he's going to get another start since Jackson Dark's still in the concussion protocol as of Monday. And I think Winston will probably throw the ball a lot more than he did against the Packers, against the Lions in their building, most likely chasing points from the opening kick.
Okay, Brissett has Jacksonville this week. That's great, even though Justin Herbert. Tampa Bay, they're 23rd against quarterbacks. Then the Rams, then Houston. So that's kind of tough. But
too great to stay away.
Yeah, and then you've got Atlanta and Cincinnati in week 16 and 17. So at least one of those is good. You could argue that Jacoby Brissett should be the, if you're worried about that running back situation, you don't need one, that he could be your number one priority this week.
He's a great pivot if you've been starting Herbert or Nix. And obviously, if you went to Tua last week, who I thought would play well, did not against Washington. So 3 quarterbacks on a bye that you can look at and say, okay, I'm going to go get this guy. And the Jane Daniels manager, too, that was replacing him also.
Okay, Dave, top 3 running backs.
For me, Emmanuel Wilson's first, Kenneth Gainwell's second, Chris Rodriguez is third. That answer could change in like 3 hours because we might get some information that could push Gainwell down or up. But those would be my first 3 priorities, with Bashal Tutin right behind Rodriguez.
Not Sean Tucker?
Not Sean Tucker, because he's fighting 2 battles. Number 1, when Bucky Irving comes back, I think Bucky's going to have a sizable role. Number 2, I'm going to take you all the way back to 2024 when Sean Tucker had an amazing game against New Orleans. Tons of touchdowns, tons of total yardage. And the very next week, he went right back to being just like a nominal player for Tampa, and he never really even gained a foothold in having a big role the rest of the season. And so he's also fighting coaches' decisions and whether or not they're going to give him the same type of opportunity that he had in a half, really, against Buffalo.
Okay. And I apologize for not remembering your answer from, man, that was at least 15 minutes ago. If Warren
is out, Gainwell is number 1 for everybody. Doesn't matter what your needs are. Go get Kenneth Gainwell.
But you think there's a better chance of Warren playing this week than Jacobs as of now?
As of now. As of 9:03 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, November 18th. Oh, my God. It's my wife's birthday.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Jamey, top 3 wide receivers.
Yeah, Michael Wilson would be one. Clearly, if he gets another chance, he's got top 15 upside. Based on what we saw last week with the 18 targets. And I think just you look past that a little bit, even what Marvin Harrison was doing. He had 10 targets and 12 targets in the previous 2 games with Jacoby Brissett. I have Christian Watson 2 and Yoshivas 3. Just looking at what Watson hopefully will do. They're still, I think, trying to adjust to life without Tucker Kraft. And Watson, I would like to see more targets, but hopefully the upside continues to show through. And then I'll just take a chance on Yoshivas against the Patriots without Chase there. Chase averages 11.7 targets per game. Yoshivas has 2 games this season with 7 targets. He's been over 13 PPR points in both of those. So I'm expecting the Bengals to be the Bengals and throw the ball a lot. And so hopefully he benefits with the additional targets.
All right. Michael Wilson, Christian Watson, Andre Yoshivas. And Dave, top tight ends. Again, another guy I think you could make a case should be the number 1 waiver wire priority in Juwan Johnson.
Agreed. And it really comes down to your team being just so loaded, except you're streaming tight end, or maybe you traded away a stud tight end and you never really recovered. Juwan's out there in 54% of leagues. He's good for around 10 PPR points as a floor from week to week. And I think most Saints games are going to follow a pretty similar game script where they're trailing and they have to throw, and that's good for Juwan Johnson. But this week might be a little bit different against Atlanta. So even if Juwan has a bad game this week, you should stick with him. Dalton Schultz does hit the threshold, 35% available in fantasy leagues on CBS. If he were out there, I would be interested in him as well. And then I kind of like Noah Fant as far as one of those easy check down guys for Joe Flacco to throw the ball to after 2 seconds in his drop back. And if he continues to see that type of target volume, he'll be okay for fantasy. He kind of has the same floor as Juwan Johnson, maybe not the same type of ceiling, and is certainly more of a short-term option. But I think you've got to consider him if the Bengals are playing without Jamar Chase. Those targets do have to go elsewhere. I do think Yoshivas is in play, but I don't mind Noah Fant if you're scrambling at tight end, and he's out there in 82% of leagues.
So Schultz with the man, I've been trying to think of an analogy here, and I can't think of anything. But starting a tight end against the Bills is like starting a quarterback against the 85 Bears. The Bills are so good against tight ends. It's insane. I think only Kelsey has had more than 4 targets, maybe.
That's correct.
4 or 5.
And it was 5 targets.
Yeah. Kelsey's double-digit points.
The argument for Schultz is going to be the same argument that I had for Cade Otton last week, and it clearly did not work out for Cade Otton. It's not a function of the matchup. It's a function of the offense. And that what does Davis Mills do a lot? And that's throw underneath to Dalton Schultz. And I thought the Bucs were going to do that a lot. Part of the reason why they didn't was because they were able to run the ball so well. So the same thing could happen in Houston, I suppose. I don't think the running backs in Houston are as good as the running backs in Tampa. But I still think Dalton Schultz can get you to 10 PPR points this week.
I would take the under, but I would still pick him up.
Okay.
Right. And Juwan is not just a this week play, it's a rest of season play.
So Schultz. But I think just
more so than now Noah Fant. Yes.
What you're looking at for Schultz is clearly he's rostered in a lot of leagues. So it's more the shallow leagues on our site. I think you just want to make sure you have the ability to start him rest of season.
Yeah. Okay. So, by the way, if you want a little breakdown of Nico Collins with CJ Stroud versus with Davis Mills, some interesting numbers, check out Beyond the Box Score yesterday. You can just look at the time codes. It was pretty late in the episode, but if you're curious about that, we dug in. Now, it is time for coverage you can count on, sponsored by Nationwide. Jamey, give us a DST to stream this week.
So the best one, it just meets the threshold, but should be very good, is the Browns. 65% roster taking on the Raiders. They did a great job against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens last week. Clearly one of the best defenses, despite their poor record. And Myles Garrett is having a historical season, so he should make things very uncomfortable for Geno Smith. But there's some good options this week. You know, Daniel Jones has struggled on the road, and the Chiefs coming off of a loss. So I think they're at home, right?
The Chiefs are at home.
The Chiefs are home, yeah. So Daniel Jones, not the best spot for him, so I could see him turn the ball over a little bit. Raiders get Shedeur Sanders, and Max Crosby should make life uncomfortable for him. Jaguars, we've seen Jacoby Brissett play great, but we've also seen 4 turnovers in the last 2 weeks, and so they did a great job, obviously, against the Chargers last week. These are more low-end options, the last 2, the Jaguars and the Saints, but the Saints get Kirk Cousins without Drake London, and Cousins has not looked good coming off a bye. Could be a fun week for the Saints DST this week.
I just want to see where the Jaguars DST ranks overall, because I've been sort of surprised. They've had a lot of really good games.
Early in the season, they were great, yeah.
Yeah, and Brissett takes a lot of sacks. Now, he didn't take any sacks last week because the 49ers can't sack anyone. But before that, 16 sacks in his previous 3 games. The Jaguars are, what I'm looking at, they're the number 7 DST in our Fantasy Football Today league, which just has kind of standard CBS scoring. It'll obviously be different in your leagues, but the Jaguars have been pretty good a number of times this year, including the last 2 weeks. So it's an interesting play. There's one DST that has a good schedule going forward, not just this week. I think it's the Jaguars. Oh, yeah, it is. It's the Jaguars are at Arizona, which may not seem great, and it may not be, but again, there's the sacks. Tennessee, they're the best matchup on the road. Then the Colts, we just talked about, they've been turning it over. Then the Jets. So Jacksonville's next 4 games at Arizona, at Tennessee, Indianapolis, Jets. All right. That was coverage you can count on, sponsored by Nationwide. Kickers, Jamey?
Let's see. I have Harrison Butker in his building against the Colts. Jake Elliott against the Cowboys. They give up a lot of fantasy points to kickers. Mike Badgley coming back from his bye week. He's been pretty solid. And then the Cardinals, top 5, I believe, in fantasy points allowed to the position. So Cam Little, favorable environment as well.
Yep.
Okay. And the IDP name I gave was, again, Curtis Robinson, linebacker for the 49ers.